Janet Yellen, the White House, CNN, and most other major outlets try to tell us that we are not actually in a recession, as it looks almost like our numbers are going to be 1.6% down in a shrinkage in the economy. So we'll be talking just a bit about what that means and what our next step is going to be. Cori Bush says that she doesn't want to answer whether or not she wants to vote for Biden or even for Biden to run for 2024. So we'll be talking just a bit about what's happening with that. A highly credible FBI whistleblower has described a concerted effort to scuttle the Hunter Biden story. So, surprise, we all knew about this, and we'll talk just a bit about this. And a racial slur appears on a TV weather forecast, with the forecasters running out and screaming, "We apologize for that." It is going to be all of this and more. You're my favorite breakfast tacos. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. You know, it was a really slow news night when I went to bed last night. Like, there was almost nothing on the stack for today. I was really surprised when I looked at it and I said, man, what are we even going to talk about? This is going to be like a 20-minute contemporary. And after I got up, that's part of the reason, well, I overslept partially. I think I might be coming down with a little bit of a cold. It's not a coof because I don't have fever or anything else. But just I've had a scratchy throat for the last couple days. But regardless, we've got to come back into this. Now, as I was saying, it's just like we keep seeing breaking story. Since this morning, I've added 5 stories to the stack, and since we've been on air, I've added another one. I went over to Twitter and just went back and clicked off my notifications while we were in the title card, and oh, that's breaking news that my audience is going to like, so we're going to talk about that as well. So just another one added on the fly up here, so we got to get right down into it. And yeah, it's 7:45 already, but luckily it is, I think, going to be a relatively short one. I think by the time we're done with finance, there's only going to be 20 articles up on the top. So let's get into it. Let's get started. But before we do, make sure you guys go check out all the great creators who are helping bring you news, culture, and a perspective by the common man for the common man over there. And I'm talking, of course, about great creators such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys. Go check out Tweets by Brit. Go check out KTZed. They're all wonderful creators. They all have a perspective that is by the common man for the common man, and they're all great friends. If you ever get a chance to hang out with any of them, I do suggest you take that opportunity. I'm not going to say they're going to take it every time you come back and offer, but if you ever do get the chance, go back out and say, hey, come back and hang out with us, because I think you're pretty cool. So go check all of them out on their various channels. It looks like KTZed is doing a bi-monthly stream, which unfortunately I wasn't able to come in and participate in. This was this past Sunday because I was in the midst of some other things and I didn't know about it until long after she was done streaming. I know she was taking calls in for some of that, but also go check out Sketch Comedy by Brit, Culture by Stephen Ignoramus, Memes by the Porch Boys, and Analysis of News and Breakdowns by Birkenhoff and the R-Rated Conservative. Go check out all of them. Let's get down into the news. Let's start with the finance, which is going to be some interesting news, especially given that Walmart is flashing some panic signals yet again, just like it did before. We dropped below the 30,000 mark last time. Looking at the Dow. The Dow closed at 31,990.04 yesterday. That was just slightly up. It was this was the previous close down here around 31,950. So it did manage to bring itself up throughout the day, but barely, and it sank right towards the end and just shot back up at the end. Now the futures are looking like they are turning back down, so we'll continue to watch that and see where that goes. Looking at your Bitcoin, that was a major drop down just today, just at the beginning of the day, starting about midnight for us. About 9 o'clock last night is when it started to sink, but it came and it took one surge upward and then just dropped back down just above the 21,000 mark. Bitcoin ending right now at $21,134 US dollars and 30 US cents. Over the 5-day, that is down 2,016 US dollars and 50 US cents, or 8.71% over the past 5 days. Today, it's actually down because of the midnight cutoff, 175 US dollars and 90 US cents, or just less of than a percent. But again, when we see where that tumble started over here at well over 22K, you start to see a different picture coming out of that. So that's what we see coming off of that. Looking in at your fuel prices, or my fuel prices, your fuel prices may vary, but we're still seeing the 366s across the board, all the way down through the Madison area, except for that one hanger on. The Quick Trip on University Ave in Madison is still at 373, but everybody else is looking at 366. I've seen a 368 in town down by me, but again, your gas prices may not be reflective on the chart that we're seeing here. Yours may vary because the average is still over $4 a gallon, which means that half the prices are even higher than that. So we'll continue to watch this and see where this goes. Let's see what IBD has to say for the morning. Dow futures fall as Walmart plunges on profit warning. Alphabet, Microsoft earnings are due, from Scott Latonin. Dow futures fell Tuesday morning as Walmart plunged 10% after lowering its profit outlook for the current quarter and full year. Highly awaited earnings results from tech giants Alphabet, Google, and Microsoft are due out after the close. Late Monday, Apple chipmaker NXP Semiconductors reported strong Q2 results, but the stock still fell more than 2% in morning trade. NXP shares are trying to build a new base after a sharp rebound from recent lows. GM fell 1% after Q2 earnings missed, while sales topped. Tesla declined around 1% early Tuesday. Elsewhere, the Dow tech leaders Apple traded down 0.5%, and Microsoft lost a fraction before today's stock market open. The Dow stock, Coca-Cola, rallied 1.5% after reporting better than expected results. Uh-oh, the helicopters are coming for me. I'm giving the news they don't want you to hear. They're coming for me. In the volatile stock market environment, Dow stock United Health, as well as ELF Beauty, Quanta Services, Ulta Beauty, Vera Mobility, and Vertex Pharmaceuticals are among the stocks to watch. Keep in mind the ongoing stock market volatility is the reason to stay more conservative despite recent signs of strength. United Health and Vertex are on the IBD leaderboard. ELF and Ulta were featured in this week's Stocks Near a Buy Zone column. On the Dow today, ahead of Tuesday's open, the Dow futures fell 0.4%, the S&P dropped 0.35%, and the Nasdaq was down 0.45% versus fair value. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among the ETFs, the Nasdaq 100 tracker, Invesco QQQ Trust, moved down 0.45%, and the SPDR S&P 500 fell 0.4%. The 10-year yield ticked lower to 2.75% Tuesday, giving back the entirety of Monday's bounce. On Friday, the 10-year yield hit its lowest level since late May. Meanwhile, the U.S. oil prices extended Monday's gains as West Texas Intermediate futures rose almost 2% to trade above $98 a barrel. Those high gas prices are coming back, you guys. So this is not official financial advice. But right now, if it was me and I was in this situation, and I keep seeing this every single day, I would go fill up my tank right now because it's looking like it's heading back to three digits a barrel. And that is going to trickle back down onto the pump. We have some reprieve right now, but how long is it going to last? We will see. Part of that is going to be stagflationary as well, because if people won't buy the gas, then there's no reason to put it into the tanks, and there's no reason to produce more. So we will see that as well, but this does get a little bit worrying as we sit back and watch, but we will see what happens off of that. Let's grab one from MarketWatch on yesterday's numbers. Dow, S&P eke out gains as investors await earnings and Wednesday's Fed decision. From Vivian Lachow and William Watts. U.S. Stocks finished mixed on Monday after flipping between modest gains and losses as investors contemplate a week stuffed with monster earnings and await a Federal Reserve policy meeting that's expected to include another outsized rate hike. The Dow Industrials and the S&P 500 finished higher for the fourth time out of the past 5 trading days, while the Nasdaq Composite ended lower. Last week, the Dow rose 2%, while the S&P 500 gained 2.6% and the Nasdaq advanced 3.3%. Traders generally held steady on Monday and appeared reluctant to build bold positions before a big batch of corporate earnings, which could shape the market sentiment in the short term. For the new week, there will be 175 S&P 500 companies reporting, including big beasts like Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Amazon, although the action doesn't pick up again until Tuesday. Earnings optimism is overshadowed recession fears that dragged stocks lower on Friday, said Fiona Sincota, senior financial markets analyst at Citi Index. The S&P 500 is down 16.8% for the year to date as of Monday, but has climbed back by 8.2% from the 52-week low it hit in mid-June, with sentiment underpinned of late by a corporate reporting season that has proved better than some had feared. With 21% of the S&P 500 companies having reported, the second quarter blended earnings growth rate for the benchmark index is 4.8%, according to John Butters, a senior earnings analyst at FactSet. So, again, these are the numbers that they're going to use when they tell you that we're not in a recession, because, hey, look, the corporate earnings that we demonized last year, well, they're up now, so we can't be in a recession. We are in a recession right now. We're just waiting for the numbers to confirm it, but we're in a recession right now. And we'll talk about that in just a moment as we start to see the White House and the Fed and CNN try to tell us that we're not. So let's get into it. Starting with Cnbc. With all the advertisements all over it. The numbers show the U.S. economy is at least teetering on a recession, from Jeff Cox. The White House is sure the economy is not in recession nor headed for one. Wall Street is pretty sure there is no recession now, but isn't positive about what's ahead. Looking at the data, the picture is indeed nuanced. Nothing right now is screaming recession. There's plenty of chatter. The jobs market's still pretty good, given the fact that Ford just announced they're going to cut 8,000 jobs. Oh no, the job market is fine. Manufacturing is weakening, but still expanding. Yeah, no, the metal prices are down because there's nobody to buy the products and nobody's going to work in the factories, but no, this is fine. And consumers still seem fairly flush with cash, if somewhat less willing to part with it these days. Where? Exactly where are consumers flush with cash? Show me. Because I keep seeing people burning through their savings just to buy their gasoline, and we're not even in the cold season yet. I would love to see what happens when heating oil, well, no, I actually don't love to see that, but that's going to be the big indicator when heating oil is above $98 a barrel, above $100 a barrel, and you start to see those heating bills go up another 30, 40, 50%. So with second quarter GDP data due out Thursday, the question of whether the economy is merely in a natural slowdown after a robust year in 2021 or in a steeper downturn that could have extended repercussions will be on everyone's mind. This is not an economy that's in a recession, but we're in a period of transition in which growth is slowing, Janet Yellen told Meet the Depressed on Sunday. A recession is a broad-based contraction of what affects many sectors of the economy. We don't have that. On Monday, Kevin Hassett, head of the National Economic Council during the Trump admin, pushed back on that view and said the White House is making a mistake by not owning up to the realities in the moment. We're kind of in a recession, right? So it's a difficult time, Hassett, who is now a distinguished senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, told CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin during a live Squawk Box interview. In this case, if I were in the White House, I would not be out there sort of denying it's a recession, he added. If nothing else, the economy stands at least a fair chance of hitting the rule of thumb recession definition of 2 consecutive quarters with negative GDP readings. The first quarter saw a gross domestic product decline of 1.6%, and the Atlanta Federal Reserve gauge is indicating the second quarter is on pace to hit the same number. Wall Street, though, is seeing things a little bit differently. Though multiple economists, including those at Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, and Nomura, see a recession in the future, the consensus of GDP forecast for the second quarter is a gain of 1% according to Dow Jones. Cope harder, because I'm laughing at you. Whether the U.S. skirts a recession will most likely rest in the hands of consumers who accounted for 68% of all economic activity in the first quarter. Recent indications, however, are that spending retreated in April to June period. Real, after inflation, personal consumption expenditures declined 0.1%, after increasing just 0.2% in the first quarter. In fact, real spending fell in 3 of the first 5 months of the year, a product of inflation running at its hottest pace in more than 40 years. It's that consumer inflation factor that is the U.S. economy's biggest risk now. While President Brandon's admin has been touting the recent retreat of fuel prices, there are indications that inflation is broadening beyond gasoline and groceries. In fact, the Atlanta Fed Sticky Consumer Price Index, which measures goods whose price didn't fluctuate much, has been rising in a steady and even somewhat alarming pace. The 1-month annualized sticky CPI, think personal care products, alcoholic beverages, and auto maintenance, ran at 8.1% annualized pace in June, or a 5.6% 12-month rate. The central bank's flexible CPI, which includes things such as vehicle prices, gasoline, and jewelry, rose at a stunning 41.5% annualized pace and an 18.7% year-over-year rate. One argument from those hoping that inflation will recede once the economy shifts back to a higher demand for service over goods, easing pressure on overtaxed supply chains, also appears to have some holes. In fact, services spending accounted for 65% of all consumer outlays for the first quarter compared to 69% in 2019 prior to the pandemic, so according to the Fed data, so the shift hasn't been that remarkable. Should inflation persist at high levels, then that will trigger the biggest recession catalyst of all, namely the Federal Reserve interest rate hikes that already have totaled 1.5 percentage points in 2022 and could double before year-end. The rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee meets Tuesday and Wednesday and is expected to approve another 0.75% increase. This is the thing that gets me about this. Now, we'll go back down and we'll talk about the people that are trying to deny the fact that we're in a recession right now. But the Federal Reserve, and I've preached on this before, the Federal Reserve is coming out here and doing everything they can to keep you out of the markets, to keep you from buying a house, from buying a car, from taking out another credit card and buying more stuff. Meanwhile, allowing the billionaires to keep spending their money on their assets because, hey, their assets increase when inflation goes up. They're protected from inflation by having the home, the yacht, the factory, things like that, things that increase in value, the land. And the government that's just going to come back out and say, oh, well, this is necessary spending, we need to go back and do this, otherwise the terrorists win, or whatever kind of stupid thing that they come back out with every time to go back out and try to say that. But the Federal Reserve is trying to keep you out of the market, to try to slow the spending, to slow the velocity of money. And then they can keep out and say, oh, well, you're still flush with cash even if you're not willing to spend it. That's the problem. If you're not willing to spend the cash, you're in a recession. And again, they're saying this on top of the fact that New York City just cut 200 jobs because of the commie coup jab, and Ford is ready to go out and drop another 8,000. And that's just two sectors of the economy. But that's what we see coming off of that. Let's talk about the COPE. Starting with Yellen. Janet Yellen says the economy shows no signs of a recession. From Julia Mueller. Treasury Secretary Yellen said Sunday that growing consumer spending, industrial output, credit quality, and other economic indicators don't suggest the economy's in a recession, although she acknowledged that way too high inflation is straining the system. This is not an economy that's in a recession, Yellen told moderator Chuck Todd on NBC's Meet the Depressed. I'm actually going to go see if Daily Wire has the video of that. I know I used way too much from Daily Wire today, but I know they had an article on that, and they're usually pretty good about putting the video up. So let's do some on-air production, shall we? No, they don't have it. Does Beck have it? Yeah, Liz Cheney's running for president. We'll be talking about that later on. Glenn, you're killing me. You don't have it either. Ben doesn't have it. You don't have it. Okay, well, we don't get video of this one. Businesses and consumers are seeing the economy slow after a rapid growth spurt last year, which brought the labor market back to life after the pinkpox pandemic, the secretary said. But this transitional slowdown is necessary and appropriate given the rapid changes. By the way, transitional. What word does that sound like that we were promised we were never going to have to worry about again? Doesn't it kind of sound like, oh, hey, why are you worried right now? The recession, the slowdown, it's just transitory. You don't see any of the signs. Now, a recession is a broad-based contraction that affects many sectors of the economy. We just don't have that, Yellen said, but she acknowledged the impacts of uncommonly high inflation numbers. She said she expects federal government policies aimed at controlling inflation to be successful, putting downward pressure on record gas prices, rising food costs, and other economic problem areas for everyday Americans with help from the Biden admin. Yes, because you know you have a healthy economy when the Fed is making it harder for people to take out a credit line just so they can survive. You know your economy's healthy then, right? She said she expects federal government policies aimed at controlling inflation to be successful, putting downward pressure on record gas prices, rising food costs, and other economic problem areas for everyday Americans with help from the Biden admin. We've cut the deficit by a record $1.5 trillion this year. Where? Where have you cut the deficit by $1.5 trillion? First off, blowing it out for 2021, but where? You put the pork-laden, bloated infrastructure package into play, and you keep threatening to spend more money, plus throwing trillions of dollars over to Ukraine. Where is the deficit cut? I need to see numbers on that. Or does it just not count if you print off the money? We've seen gas prices in recent weeks come down by about 50 cents after going up by $2.5, $3.5. And there should be more in the pipeline. And hopefully we will pass a bill that will lower prescription drug costs and maintain current levels of healthcare costs. Well, you know, you could really improve healthcare costs by just getting the government out of it, but Y'all ain't ready for that conversation. Where is the deficit? I need to see where the deficit's cut. Either you're getting a major slap in the face come tax time, or the deficit is up. From the Blaze, White House goes into full spin mode ahead of economic report, disputes definition of recession. Not the technical definition. That's not a real recession. Now, of course, if Republican president, generic Republican president, doesn't even have to be evil Donald Trumpler, if generic Republican president had 2 quarters of slowing growth, this would be headline news. Republicans wreck the economy. Recession imminent. We're in a recession right now. Get out of the markets. Crash the economy. Crash the stock market. It's over. Everybody's going to die. From Chris Enlow. The White House is going into full spin mode ahead of a government report that could show the U.S. economy is experiencing a recession. Is this supposed to be video? Let me refresh this quick. Usually when they have the indented text like that, there's a link that usually pops up. Oh, we do have the video. On-air production. Great time. The U.S. economy shrank 1.6% in the first quarter of 2022, according to the Bureau of Economic Analyses. Economic forecasts for the second quarter are split. Bloomberg experts, for example, forecast a meager 0.5% growth, while Goldman Sachs economists predict a 0.7% growth. Unfortunately, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's GDP now is predicting another GDP contraction of 1.6%. If that happens, the U.S. economy will have experienced 2 consecutive quarters of GDP decline, which meets the standard definition of a recession. And what was I saying? I'm surprised even by the 1.6% contraction in the second quarter. Because what was I saying from the beginning of it? Well, we're going to get a contraction, but I don't think it's going to be as heavy as it was in quarter 1. Right from the start, I thought it was going to be less than 1% rather. I was thinking 0.3 to 0.5% contraction. But the Atlanta GDP has access to way more numbers than I do. Ahead of the BEA's second quarter estimate, which is expected on Thursday, the White House is downplaying a potential bad report by denying that most economists agree is this definition of a recession. For example, the White House Council of Economic Advisors published a blog post last Thursday denying the definition. What is a recession? Well, it's kind of like the question of what is a woman? While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitute a recession, that is neither the official definition nor there is no official definition. That's just the definition right now that you've all agreed on when you could use it to hammer Republicans. Nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. Instead, both official determinations of recessions and economists' assessments of economic activity are based on a holistic look at the data, including the labor market, consumer and business spending, industrial production, and incomes based on these data. It's unlikely that the decline in GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. Wow, what happens if we get a third quarter like this after Ford lays off those 8,000 people? Then on Sunday, Janet Yellen, which we talked about that already, claimed on Meet the Depressed that if the U.S. economy shrank in quarter 2, that does not mean the U.S. is experiencing a recession.
Help us play armchair economist this week. There is a ton of data coming out this week. It's probably a fun week for an economist because we're going to have consumer confidence survey, the second quarter GDP numbers. We got inflation numbers for June. Which is the indicator? What's the number you're most focused on that will give you a better indication of where this economy is headed?
Well, I look at all the data, and GDP will be closely watched. A common definition of recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, or at least that's something that's been true in past recessions. When we've seen that, there has usually been a recession. And many economists expect second quarter GDP to be negative. First quarter GDP was negative. So we could see that happen, and that will be closely watched. But I do want to emphasize what a recession really means is a broad-based contraction in the economy. And even if that number is negative, we are not in a recession now. And I would, warn that we should be not characterizing that as a recession.
I understand that, but you're splitting hairs. I mean, if the technical definition is 2 quarters of contraction, you're saying that's not a recession?
That's not the
No?
That's not the technical definition. There's an organization called the National Bureau of Economic Research that looks at a broad range of data in deciding whether or not there is a recession. And
anything to not have to say recession under another Democrat president in a row, because that shatters the narrative, by the way. Just destroys the narrative. And I've been seeing this even back when I voted neoconservative, when I'm not proud to say about what I'm about to say. When I voted for McCain and Romney, it still disgusts me to this day. Where they were holding signs, especially out in Madison, but they did it in Milwaukee and Kenosha too, where they, a cheap piece of cardboard that they probably grabbed from the meager job that they were working at the time, and wrote on there, how many was it? The last 7 Republicans, 4 recessions, 2 depressions, which is news to me because I've only ever known about 1 depression in this country. And in fact, the recessionary things that we see came from policies, typically usually stemming from Carter, Clinton, some W going into the Obama administration, but he did not help that in any stretch of the imagination. And Biden. Now, I'd be willing to grant you the Trump economy aspect of this if what we're seeing right now happened in 2021, but this is 2022. We're in a recession, and they are spinning to try to make sure that you don't believe that we're in a recession right now. So that's what we see for that. Let's listen to the House Plant in Chief. Biden. God willing, I don't think we're going to see a recession, man. Come on. From Brett Samuels. President Biden on Monday said he does not expect the U.S. economy to enter a recession ahead of a key report on GDP that could show the economy contracting. We're not going to see a recession in my view, man, Biden told reporters in a virtual event focused on semiconductor legislation. The employment rate is still one of the lowest we've had in history. It's the 3.6% area. Well, we still find ourselves with people investing, man, Biden continued. My hope is that we go from this rapid growth to steady growth. So we'll see some coming down, but I don't think we're going to, God willing. Come on, man. I don't think we're going to see a recession. The Bureau of Economic Analyses is scheduled to release second quarter GDP data on Thursday. If it shows negative growth, it will mark the second consecutive quarter where economies contracted, an indicator that often is used by economists to mark a recession. Numerous White House officials have spent the past week pushing back on the idea that our economy is in a recession based purely on the data that will come out on Thursday. Dude, at 1.6% drop 2 quarters in a row, I wouldn't call that a mild recession because that is compounded. Numerous White House officials have spent the past week pushing back on the idea the economy is in a recession based purely on the data that will come out on Thursday. Even if that number is negative, we're not in a recession right now. By the way, just watching that video, and we'll go back and look at it in just a sec, but I mean, doesn't that look like a hostage negotiation to you? Just read, keep the book off the screen, keep the script off the screen, and read. No, we're not in a recession. Everything is fine. Don't worry, go back out and spend more money. Let's go watch some of that again. Because, yeah, I swear this is hostage video stuff.
Balance sheets are generally in good shape, but inflation is way too high. And, the Fed is charged with putting in place policies that will bring inflation down. And I expect them to be successful. The administration, for its part, is supplementing those Fed policies with things we can do. We've cut the deficit by a record $1.5 trillion this year.
Yeah, I mean, it is her kid or her grandkid off screen with a knife to his throat? I mean, that's exactly what this is. Come on, Miss Yellen, just read the script. No, it's right there. Just read it. Yes, no, the deficit is down. There's nothing to worry about. Just please go out and keep spending your money, okay? It doesn't matter if you have no money. Just spend it all back out, and everybody will come back out and help. Don't worry about anything, okay? It's like listening to Karine Jean-Pierre give a press briefing. All right, so that's what they say off of that. Now, before I get into this article, before I click over to this one, I want to say one thing about the state of things that we see coming off of this. Now, typically, when I see that the government is trying to come back out and solve a problem that the government caused, that is just go out and clean up your own mess. Yes, I understand the terrifying nature of the words, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. But as we read this, I want you to realize that the solution for overspending and inflation to some of these government officials seems to be print more money, overspend, and inflate the currency more. Let's read from Insider. With federal stimulus payments unlikely, here are 18 states giving money to residents in relief checks to combat inflation. Are you stupid? From Lauren Frias. Stimulus money is the reason we're in this situation. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced Thursday that the state would send nearly 60,000 Florida families a $450 per child one-time relief check starting this week. Why? Are you stupid? This is literally the reason that we're in the situation right now. The state joins a number of others that are giving residents various amounts of money in the form of stimulus checks. It's been over a year since the federal government last issued stimulus checks to Americans amid the pinko-pox pandemic. As of July 2021, the Biden admin doesn't appear to have any plans in place regarding any future payments, prompting states to take initiatives and set up stimulus relief programs themselves. Here are the states that have instated their own stimulus check programs. California, are you shocked? California, the home of socialism. The home of, we'll pay you just to live here, come back out and vote for our crappy democratic policies. It doesn't matter if you're going to be able to run a business, or get taxed out of existence, or have any services whatsoever. We'll just pay you to be here. Just make sure you mark the right letter when you go to vote. More than half the state's residents will receive direct payments up to $1,050 based on a 3-tiered eligibility system. So, basically, enough to get a carton of milk, a carton of eggs, and 2 bags of ramen in California. $1,050. And tax filers with at least one dependent will also receive an additional amount of $350, $250, or $200, respectively, based on their income. Single tax filers will receive $350 if they earn less than $75,000 a year, $250 if they earn between $75,001 and $125,000 per year, and $200 if they earn between $125,000 and $1 and $250,000 per year. So, from the bottom of the barrel to the lowest rungs of the middle class by California standards. Joint filers will receive $700 if they earn less than $150K a year, $500 if they earn between $150,000 and $1 and $250K per year, and $400 if they earn between $250,000 and $1 and $500,000 per year. Colorado! Jared Polis announced in late June that the state would send cashback rebate of $750 for single tax filers and $1,500 for joint filers. Delaware. Who was shocked by that? $300 per adult or $600 for joint. Florida, we talked about that. Georgia. Some of these I'm actually surprised about because they're actually somewhat fiscally conservative. Florida and Georgia being two of them. $250 and $500. $375 per head of household. Hawaii, not shocked. Providing individual taxpayers who earn less than $100,000 or joint tax filers earning less than $200,000 a payment of $300. So the baseline of poverty will get you $300. Idaho, $75 a taxpayer, or 12% of their income tax amount, whichever is greater. Illinois, no shock there. Suspending grocery, gas, and property taxes. Yeah, that'll go over well. By the way, your tolls are going up. Indiana, $125 or $250. Maine, $850. Don't know where you're getting that money from. $500 for 300,000 low-income workers in Massachusetts. Jersey, $500. New Mexico, $250 for under 75K, $500 for under 150K if you're joint. New York, property tax rebate. Oregon, $600 for 230,000 low-income people. Pennsylvania has a massive schedule of how they're going to do things. Who earns less than $8,000 and is a homeowner in today's economy? Wow. South Carolina is doing tax cuts, which is good. Virginia, tax rebates, and that's all of them. So if you're in one of those states, congratulations. The government thinks that they can spend their way out of the problem that they spent their way into. So that's what we see for that. All right, that's our economic news. That was a little bit extended, but the recession is the big part of the news right now. Whether or not we're there, and will they, won't they? Let's get into some of the rest of the news here. We'll talk about some Biden stuff. We'll talk about some Cheney stuff and some other stuff like that. But first, we have to throw another F in the chat because all of the mob guys are seeming to die off at once. Maybe they know something. Maybe they might be about to squeal. Who knows? But Paul Sorvino, Goodfellas and Law & Order star, dead at 83. From Sandra Gonzalez and Brian Lowry. Paul Sorvino, an imposing actor whose roles range from the mob boss in Goodfellas to an early stint in the long-running cop drama Law & Order, has died. According to his publicist, Roger Neal, he was 83. Sorvino died on Monday of natural causes, with his wife Dee Dee by his side. Dee Dee Sorvino issued a statement through Neal, saying in part, "Our hearts are broken. There will never be another Paul Sorvino." Born in Brooklyn, Sorvino earned a Tony nomination for his role in That Championship Season, reprising his role in the film version, and appeared in a long list of movies that included portraying Henry Kissinger and Nixon, Dick Tracy, Reds, and The Rocketeer. 3 of the 4 movies that are on here I haven't seen, but I'm interested in. The 4th one I've never heard of. Sorvino attended the American Musical and Dramatic Academy and had thoughts of becoming an opera singer before making his Broadway debut in the mid-60s. His first movie was the comedy Where's Papa?, followed by Panic in the Needle Park opposite Al Pacino. Sorvino is probably best remembered for director Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas as Paul Cicero, the mobster who even in prison retained a passion for cooking and fine cuisine. Thinly slicing garlic with a razor blade, Sorvino and his wife later co-wrote the book Pinot, Pasta, and Parties. Interesting. Hang on, let me put that on my Amazon wish list. That sounds really good. I don't drink much anymore, but I do love robust, dark reds. The actor took a role in Law & Order as one of the detectives, but soon left, citing limited range of the material. Sorvino was survived by his wife and 3 children, including actress Mira Cervino, and 5 grandchildren. Mira wrote on Twitter on Monday, "My heart is rent asunder, a life of love and joy and wisdom. With him is over. He was the most wonderful father. I love him so much. I'm sending you love in the stars, Dad, as you ascend." So, Godspeed, Paul Sorvino. This one I'm actually a little bit more familiar with than the last one that we talked about. And I'm sorry to see it. I'm sorry to see this one go. I really am. I've never seen The Rocketeer, but I was interested when it came out. I was a little kid when that came out, by the way. So that's what we see for that. Now here's one that we're never sorry to see. This is the one, by the way, that I picked up while we were on air. From Variety. Samantha Bee's Full Frontal canceled and latest late night cutback. Wait. Got a sounder for that one. You ready? Ah, you love to see it. You love to see it. What does that Limbaugh used to say about her? Well, let's hear about what the latest, coming from nobody wants to see her full frontal, Samantha Bee. Samantha Bee's Full Frontal is getting a kick in the rear from Warner Bros. Discovery. The show, which became a signature program for the large cable network, TBS, will not return for the network in the fall, according to a statement from Bee's representatives. You know, I actually didn't even know that it was still going. I'm not going to lie. I had no idea that this show was still going. Maybe it's because she didn't have anything to complain about anymore now that Joe Biden was the president. Because let's be completely realistic about this. Samantha Bee's entire program, her entire script, her entire monologue, and every sketch on her show was, I hate Donald Trump! Do you hate Donald Trump too? This is why we should hate Donald Trump! And I'm a little bit surprised she was able to keep a program like that going this far into his honk loss. When's the last time we actually heard about Full Frontal? I don't think it's been since Biden was elected. I don't think we've heard from Samantha Bee since then on this program. I'm sure she's gone out and said stupid stuff on Twitter. It's just I don't follow her, so I have no idea. And she's not one of the good ones that gets promoted up to the top like Coach Urella. Which, by the way, we'll be talking about him on Thursday in Thing That I Hate. But no word, he is not the one that I hate. As we continue to shape our new programming strategy, we've made some difficult business-based decisions, TBS said in a statement. We're proud to have been the home of Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, and thanks Sam and the rest of the Emmy-nominated team for their groundbreaking work. We celebrate this extraordinary talented cast and crew and look forward to exploring new opportunities to work with them in the future. Over the course of 7 seasons, Bee's Full Frontal brought an aggressive and saucy voice to TV's late-night arena, and one of the few programs led by a female point of view. Bee, who rose to fame as a correspondent on Comedy Central's The Daily Show, during host Jon Stewart's tenure, captured attention with outrageous humor. Her monologues pushed the usually genial cable network to embrace hefty amounts of profanity and tackle political issues that are often polarizing. In 2018, the show became part of the news cycle when Bee used a charged epithet that refers to a part of the female anatomy to insult President Trump's daughter, Ivanka. Advertisers pulled back commercial support for a time. We do a show to please ourselves. Yeah, I've seen your show. You do a lot of pleasing yourself on that show. Figuratively speaking, of course. Bee told Variety during an interview in 2016, "This gives us the opportunity to say things that we want in the exact way that we want to say them." In the process, her viewers got a few laughs. I've never once laughed at that show, by the way. I've tried it a few times. But can also exercise their frustrations with modern politics and culture. When Bee watches TV, she says, "I like a firm hand to take me somewhere. I think that's what we do with the show, provide a firm hand. You might not like where it takes you, and that's okay too." She hopes viewers walk away with comedy first and the catharsis after. So long, Samantha Bee! I'm not sad about this. I'm actually not. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Bye-bye. All right. Some bad news for us after some good news. From ABC 17, KMIZ, or Fox 22, KQFX, Missouri DOT closes Interstate 70 in St. Charles due to flooding. So if you have to go through Missouri, just watch out for that. This appears just to be a DOT camera. But yeah, it looks like we're seeing some flooding out of here, and the police are trying to push people away from there as the interstate's flooding. Missouri DOT has closed I-70 in St. Charles due to flooding from record-breaking rainfall. The lane closures in both directions near Mid-Rivers Mall Drive could last 5 hours, according to the Missouri DOT Traveler Information Map website. Missouri State Highway Patrol is asking drivers to avoid traveling on interstates in the St. Charles County and St. Louis County areas until after the morning rush hour commute is over. Parts of the St. Louis area received historic amount of overnight rainfall. The National Weather Service in St. Louis reported the city recorded more than 7 inches of rainfall since midnight. Which I'm actually not surprised by, because we got a pretty epic rainfall. What was it, Saturday night? Yeah, Saturday night, after a major windstorm that came through as well. So, it's getting to be that time of the season, which is good, because we need it. But if you are going through the Missouri area, do keep that in mind and pay attention. From the Hill, Rep. Cori Bush won't say if she wants Biden to run for a second term. From Michael Schnell. Representative Cori Bush on Monday would not say if she wants President Biden to run for a second term in the White House, refusing to answer the question during an interview at her campaign office in St. Louis, where it's currently flooded. Asked by KSDK News in Missouri if she would like Biden to vie for another 4 years as president, an aide interjected to say the congresswoman had to go. That tells me that she's not refusing to answer. She was about to say something that would incriminate her career, especially with the career people in that office. Pressed on the question, however, the Missouri Democrat said she did not want to respond. I don't want to answer that question because it's politically incriminating for me. Because we have not. That's not, I just don't want to answer that question, Bush said. I mean, he's the president. He has the right to run for a second term, absolutely. But I don't want to. I'd rather you not do that. Answer the question, she added. The aide then jumped in, noting the congresswoman had 2 minutes to get in the car, according to KSDK. She had another public event on her schedule following the interview. Bush's comments come amid a storm of speculation regarding whether Biden, now 79, will seek a second term as president in 2024. Biden has said he intends to run for another 4 years if he's in good health, but as his approval numbers continue to drop, Americans appear to be less inclined to support another campaign from the president. Some of the most damning polls for Biden came from a New York Times Siena College survey released earlier this month, which found that 64% of Democrat voters wanted a different face at the top of the ticket in the next presidential cycle. But yet, 91% of Democrat voters will vote for him if he's the one on the ticket because they just do what they're told. They get in line, they don't think about it, and they don't punish the people who put people like that in front of them. That's what they need to do. They need to punish the people who put people like that in front of them. Either vote for the Republican or don't go out to vote if that's all they're going to give you. Trust me, if all they're going to give me, now I have just recently said that there is a 72% chance that I would vote for Trump after Schedule F. But if they gave me a ticket on the Republican side that said, and I'm not a Republican, but I cannot bring myself in good conscience to vote for any of these moron Democrats right now. But if they gave me a Republican ticket that had a Bush on it, I would hand them that ballot back and said, no, you go and shove that thing right up your behind. But we also have video of Bush saying that. Mark Maxwell TV tweets out, does Congresswoman Cori Bush want to see Biden run for a second term? Let's watch.
Do you want to see Joe Biden run for a second term?
Yeah,
That's an easy question. It's not going to take long. Do you want to see Joe Biden run?
I don't want to answer that question because we have not, I don't want to answer that question.
Okay.
I mean, he's the president and he has the right to run for a second term. Absolutely. That's,
the right
but
to
I don't
run.
want to, I'd rather you not do that answer.
You got like 2 minutes to be in the car.
Yeah, I know. I got to get to the.
Well, thanks very much.
The other thing.
Congresswoman, you have to go now before you commit political suicide here. She had another event scheduled 20 minutes later across town. Well, that seems like some bad planning. More news out of the West Wing. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden's press secretary to depart, CNN reports. Yeah, there aren't a lot of people that still want to be around these people. Which is funny. Not gonna lie. First Lady Jill Biden's press secretary, Michael LaRosa, is departing the White House, CNN reported on Tuesday, citing a White House official. That's what you're telling us? Dude, that could have been a tweet. 1 minute read. Yeah, obviously a 1 minute read. But you'll notice, there's not the big concern about all these people that are running out of the White House. Kamala's press secretary, Kamala's chief of staff, Jill Biden's press secretary, just a litany of people turning over, and they're hearing that it's a terrible place for people of color to work. Which is absolutely tremendously surprising to me, given the fact that they spent so much time trying to paint every Republican in the world as an evil, racist, bigot, homophobe, sexist, xenophobe, Islamophobe, etc. But also remember, and this is from all the way back, I think this was from the beginning, because Meghan McCain is still on The View at this time, but this is what they thought about Jill Biden in the beginning, or this is what they tried to prop her up as. Thanks to our friends from The View.
Dr. Jill becomes a Surgeon General. His wife.
Yeah,
Joe Biden's wife, because he would never do it, but she's a hell of a doctor. She's an amazing doctor.
I thought she was a doctor and
PhD.
Yeah, I
could be wrong. I thought she was.
I think she's a teacher, but
Doctor.
A reminder that her doctorate is in education. She's not a medical doctor. And yet, by the way, that would be something that this current White House would be stupid enough to do, is to go put a person with a doctorate in education in as a Surgeon General. I like this. Whoopi seemed a lot smarter when she was on Star Trek. Well, the reason for that is that people like Kurtzman and Braga were writing her smart for her. More from the Daily Wire. Fight for your abuela's values. Representative Mayra Flores calls on Hispanic community to resist Soros-linked Latino media network. Do I need to move something up here? I do need to move something up here before we do that. So let's bring this up to the top then. Soros-backed group purchasing 18 Spanish language radio stations to suppress disinformation. On-air production. From Candace Hathaway. Media content startup Latino Media Network raised $80 million to launch its secure $60 million cash deal with Televisa Univision to purchase 18 radio stations in the top Latino markets. Forbes stated that LMN's debt financing came from Lakestar Finance, LLC, an investment entity affiliated with Soros Fund Management, LLC. The recent wave of Hispanic voters shifting their support to Republican candidates has left activists concerned about the future of elections. While the FCC still needs to approve the purchase of the stations, this process may take a year. Democratic politicians are already celebrating the win. Yes, we can go indoctrinate people to go back and tell them that every Republican is racist in their own language. In a tweet last month, Rep. Darren Soto called the purchase of the stations a major victory against the right-wing Spanish radio disinformation efforts this week. So, correct me if I'm wrong. They're going out and purchasing 18 stations across the country in huge Latino markets to combat, if I remember my numbers correctly, 2 radio stations that are only in Florida. Meanwhile, Rep. Mayra Flores addressed the Soros-affiliated purchase of the stations during an interview on the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast, and we'll be talking about that in just a moment. LMN co-founders Stephanie Valencia and Jess Morales Raqueto have an extensive political background and no prior radio experience. However, the founders consider the battle against disinformation among the Hispanic community a top priority. Before starting LMN, Ms. Valencia had distinguished political career as an advisor and aide to former President Obama and a press secretary for several Democratic leaders in the Senate and House. Jess Morales Raqueto worked as a political director for the National Domestic Workers Alliance and is an alumna of Hillary for America and Obama for America. 2 of the 18 radio stations are in Miami, including the Cuban conservative station, WAQI, as known as Radio Mambi. The other 16 stations are located in prominent Latino markets, including New York, Houston, Chicago, Vegas, LA, Fresno, Dallas, San Antonio, and McAllen. While LMN intended to keep the current talent and radio hosts, several have since announced their immediate resignation from Radio Mambi. Hosts Nelson Rubio, Lourdes Ubieta, and Dania Alexandrino publicly announced their departure and moved to the conservative station Americano Media. Nelson Rubio stated during a press conference, "I was not going to lend myself to receive any money from Soros or anyone." Based! Somebody who's a subscriber, throw that base sticker up here for me. Please. We need one of those in the chat. And now to Mayor Flores responding to this one. From Brandon Dre. Mayor Flores called on the Hispanic community during an interview on Tuesday to tune out the future takeover of 18 Spanish-language AM and FM stations bankrolled by left-wing billionaire George Soros. He wants the Hispanic community to forget about God and family values, Flores said during an interview on the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast. That's what the far left wants you to do, and I'm calling on the Hispanic community to fight for your abuelos' values, to fight for your parents' values that were instilled in you, that live in the U.S., or that live in us, rather, and instill those values into your kids and into your grandkids. Latino Media Network announced last month the company signed one of the largest single acquisitions of stations by a Latino owned and operated in the company's history, and a $60 million all-cash deal with Televisa Univision. The still pending acquisition would take over 18 radio stations in 10 of the nation's largest media markets to reach approximately one-third of the U.S. Latino population. The network reportedly secured equity investments from investors and debt financing for the acquisition from Lake Star Finance, which affiliates itself with Soros Fund Management. Soros has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in left-wing politicians and at least 75 progressive prosecutors across the U.S. to transform the criminal justice system with radical policies and anti-police narratives. One of the network's founders, Stephanie Valencia, said, "With minority media on the decline, it's now the time to be investing in more resources to create content for Latinos by Latinos." In 2021, Pew Research chart shows Spanish news radio stations' revenue has declined over the last decade by roughly $500,000. Valencia said the Latino population drives the growth in the U.S. They continue to navigate what's happening in the world and their place in it. However, Steve Cortez, who previously served in the Hispanic Advisory Council for President Trump's campaign, told Fox News that he believes with the population moving away from the Democratic Party, Soros-slated project indicates liberals rightly fret about the incredible gains among Hispanics for the America First movement. And here's the important part. The radicalism of the Democrats today has effectively left the formerly Dem-leaning Latinos as political orphans, Cortez told Fox News Digital. Hispanics increasingly rally to the America First combination of cultural conservatism plus patriotic populist economics. Yeah. Who would believe people that escaped communism and socialism or corruption in their own governments, or the children of those people who are actual citizens of this country, don't want to be treated like the illegal migrants that bore them first and foremost, the illegal migrants that are still here. And who would have thought that the extremely Catholic voting base would turn sour to abortion on demand up to 9 months? Let anybody get married who wants to get married and make all the states understand it, and boys can be girls and girls can be boys. Who would have thought that would have happened? Let's talk about Liz Cheney. From Insider. Liz Cheney says telling the truth about January 6th is worth losing her job, but whether or not she'll run for president in 2024 is another story. You know what the worst part is she's actually stupid enough to do it. From Isabella Zavaris. Republican globalist Rep. Liz Cheney is telling the truth about what happened on says that telling the truth about what happened on January 6th is worth losing her job. Is that one of those my truth things? Well, this is my truth. We don't care if it's the truth. This is my truth. Speaking with Jake Tapper on Sunday, Cheney said if she had to choose between maintaining a seat in Congress or being honest about the selfie fest, she's going to choose the Constitution and the truth every single day. I've seen your voting record. You have a very, very low record of choosing the Constitution. Well, there is no question, she added. Cheney is the vice chair of the January 6th Selfie Fest Committee and one of the 2 Republicans, in name only, investigating the January 6th Selfie Fest. She told Tapper working on the committee is the single most important thing she's done professionally. No video of that. Individuals like those who are running the Republican conference, who are in the leadership of the Republicans in the House, need to be held accountable for their actions, and they need to understand how serious the situation is, she told Tapper. It's so terrible, you guys. We need to come back out here. We need to make sure that we're not coming out here and working for the people. We need to be out in the Middle East bombing brown children. That's the most important part of the Republican Party, you guys. Wasting taxpayer dollars, globalism, spreading Christianity through the Middle East, and fighting for oil and making sure that our big defense contractor donors get their billions of dollars so we get our kickbacks. That's how serious the situation is. The Wyoming representative is currently working to win votes, currently failing to win votes in her state before the Republican primary on August 16th. Good. Get rid of her. Cheney's been critical of Trump's role and said she will fight to ensure the former president is nowhere near the Oval Office again. Cry more. Miss Cheney, I'm going to spend exorbitant amount of times on my media program, on Twitter, and anywhere else that I can to make sure that you are never anywhere near politics ever again. That you never have the opportunity to shape public policy ever again. Now, what you do in the media is your own business. I can't stop that. So if you want to go run to MSNBC and be a contributor, before you go try to run for president and get called a Nazi and a fascist and all the other things that are going to be called again, you do you, but I will not rest until you never see another public office again. It will become my life's goal to make sure you are not eligible to even be a city dog catcher. You made it very clear you don't think Trump should be trusted with the presidency again, Tapper asked Cheney. Are you willing to run for president to try to stop him, at least in part? To which Cheney responded, at this point, I've not made a decision about 2024. From the Hill, Cheney reiterates she hasn't decided on running for president in 2024. From Olafimihan Ocean. Some more quotes from Jake Tapper. I do think as we look towards the next presidential election, as I said, I believe our nation stands on the very edge of an abyss, and I do believe that we really have to think seriously about the dangers we face and the threats we face. We have to elect serious candidates, Cheney said. Why? Why won't Republicans warmonger anymore? Why can't we go out and bomb the Middle East like we always did? Why can't we lose graciously to Democrats like we always did? Cheney also took the opportunity to assess former President Trump's fitness for office. Oh, there's going to be some real objective news there. It has guided me every moment since then, and it's guided my work in this committee, Cheney told Bayer. And look, it's not just me saying that Donald Trump is unfit for office. It's other entities owned by Rupert Murdoch. It's the New York Post in their editorial on Friday. It's the Wall Street Journal and the same thing after our hearing on Thursday night. So I'm going to continue to be guided by making sure that I do my duty and make sure the American people understand through what? American people understand through what? What did we cut off here? I have no idea. But if the Donald A is going to go back and cut all these jobs, now again, my preference is that he doesn't replace them, but if he's going to go out and cut all these jobs, I might hold my nose and vote for him in 2024. Because I kind of want to see that. But also, he angers the right people. MSNBC, Jeff Zucker, Rupert Murdoch, the Cheneys, the Bushes, the Romneys, the McCains. He makes all the right people mad, and I'm here for it. Even if I don't agree with the policies and the spending, I'm here for the fact that he makes all these people that I protested angry. Elaine Luria on Cheney 2024 Run. Her voice is absolutely needed. We might get to listen to this one. Elaine Luria of Virginia told NBC's Meet the Depressed on Sunday that she would be open to a 2024 presidential run by fellow January 6th Select Committee member Rep. Liz Cheney, saying her voice is absolutely needed. Let's listen.
Liz Cheney gave a pretty impassioned speech and praised how many women have had the guts to come out versus the men that have hid behind executive privilege.
That was very clever.
It was an interesting take. And I know you've grown professionally pretty close to her. Look, her primary in Wyoming may go a way that she doesn't want it to go. But would you like to see her run for president in 2024?
I admire Liz Cheney. I've been friendly with her ever since I came to Congress, even before we served on this committee together. And I think, if she doesn't, come through this primary and come back to Congress, there are so many things that she can do in the future for our country.
I'm not asking whether you would support her running for president, but as somebody, do you think her voice is needed?
Her voice is absolutely needed, and I think she's one of, unfortunately, a very small number of people who need to be the face of the Republican Party in the future. I would love to get back to where we had two political parties that, debate on issues and facts and not, lies. And I, really hope that Liz Cheney will continue. And, I don't want to speculate. She's said herself she doesn't know what her future plans would be.
We shall see, but there's definitely the need for a leader of a pro-democracy wing of the GOP.
You mean a pro-Democrat wing of the GOP. That's what you mean when you say something like that. I see through you, Chuck Todd. I see it right through you when you say stupid things like that. And how did these people forget how much they were protesting the Cheneys and the Bushes not that long ago? I don't understand how this escapes your mind. From the New York Post. FBI and DOJ accused of burying Hunter Biden dirt, according to Senator Grassley. From Lee Brown. The FBI and the Justice Department have been accused by highly credible whistleblowers of burying verified and verifiable dirt on President Biden's troubled son Hunter by incorrectly dismissing the intelligence as disinformation, according to Chuck Grassley. The ranking member on the Senate Judiciary Committee made the explosive claims on Monday in an official Senate letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray and AG Merrick Garland. He insisted the allegations were so serious they would prove, if confirmed, that both offices were institutionally corrupted to their very core. Well, yeah, they have been for a really, really, really long time. And yes, that does include Barr, by the way. Just so you know, I'm not letting his stupid behind off the hook. You have an obligation to the country to take these allegations seriously, immediately investigate, and take steps to institute fixes to these and other matters before you, Grassley told Ray and Garland. Here is the letter. It's quite lengthy, but I will link this story with the screenshots of the letter into the chat for you guys. If you would like to have a look to them themselves. I know we're up on the clock right now, but I mean, who in this world at this point doesn't believe that the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, the ATF, the DEA, who doesn't believe that these are all corrupt to the core at this point? There's a reason that the former president wants to come back in and gut all these institutions. And it's not just about loyalism at this point. It is about the fact that there is a rot at the federal government, at the federal level. Because we're in these situations where we can't look at the people who are making the laws that these alphabet agencies enforce, or they're making their own laws in some cases. Looking at you, EPA. And you can't go back out to the lawmaker and see him in the grocery store and say, hey, what the hell, man? Another one on this same topic from the Daily Wire. Highly credible FBI whistleblowers describe concerted effort to scuttle negative Hunter Biden stories report. A new report published Monday reveals that several credible whistleblowers from within the FBI believe there's a coordinated effort to bury a negative story about President Biden's embattled son, Hunter. CBS reporter Catherine Herridge shared a letter from Senator Chuck Grassley addressed to FBI Director Christopher Wray and AG Garland indicating that several credible sources inside the FBI had contacted him with information suggesting that Hunter Biden was being strategically protected from negative media attention. New multiple highly credible FBI whistleblowers have come forward to Senate Republican Chuck Grassley alleging widespread effort to downplay or discredit negative information about the president's son, Hunter, according to the letters Herridge tweeted. In the letter, Grassley noted that he had already been aware of federal law enforcement's potential involvement in efforts to keep Hunter's name off the front page, and he had put out a call for anyone who knew of such efforts to reach out to him with any additional information. Now, I understand the need for privacy for people in the FBI. I understand that, and there's going to be some classification that goes along with that. But I will put out the same standard that I put out to the mainstream media. Right now, this is grain of salt level information. It's believable if it came out and somebody said, okay, well, here's the verification that you need for this. It wouldn't shock me to find out that this is true. But I do have to put the same standard out that I put out to places like CNN, the New York Post, MSDNC, regular DNC, or The Blaze, or anybody else. Whereas if you just have credible sources, I can't take this as gospel. I can't. I would like to look more into this and figure out what the credentials are, at least. If we can find a way to figure out who these whistleblowers are without directly revealing their names, I'd like to know more about them and why it is that I should believe them. But as of right now, this is just a rumor to me. And that does go along with the fact that I shared out the letter that Grassley put out. But, again, when it comes to other whistleblowers, yes, we know who Reality Winner is. We know who Chelsea/Bradley Manning is. I have mixed feelings about those people because I do think that they put people's lives on the line with the particular information that they leaked. But we know who they are and why we should believe them. We know what their credentials were and why they're credentialed. We even know who Erica Marshmallow is. I still don't know if I can say that name on YouTube or not. The real name, not the stand-in. Hey, we know who that person is. And why that person actually has the credentials to be believed. Because he actually was on the call. I don't believe the call was anything that we needed to worry about, but we know that that person was on the call and why he was on the call. So, that's my 2 cents on that. Take it for what it will. This wouldn't shock me, again, like I said, to find out this is real, but I do need to hold everybody to the same standard. Not give favoritism to stories that agree with my point of view. 6 House staffers are arrested while protesting in Chuck Schumer's office. His air-conditioned office. They didn't protest outside in the heat. They went and protested in his air-conditioned office, from Jacob Knudsen over at Axios. 6 House staffers were arrested Monday for protesting for legislation to address climate change in Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's office, demanding he restart negotiations with Manchin, according to Capitol Police. After bipartisan energy talks crumbled last month, it left the door open for Democrats to pursue climate legislation in a potential second reconciliation package, though they would need Manchin's vote for it to pass. Hey, I wonder if these guys are actually in handcuffs or if they just are holding their hands behind the back.
What exactly are you asking from Schumer that he's not doing?
To reopen the negotiations on climate reconciliation package, and then to actually pass climate legislation during the Democrats' 2 years in power.
And why protest Schumer's office and not Joe Manchin?
Because there's always going to be a sheep that strays away from the herd. It's the job of leadership to get the party together and actually pass what people need.
Yes, this is... I know you can't hear me because the volume is very low, but we definitely need leadership to go back out and do the things that we want them to do, and we will throw a whiny baby fit if you don't come back out and do what we do. And this is a temper tantrum, but don't worry, I have my mask on because I'm afraid of you getting monkeypox. Lindsey Graham wanting to take retirement away from more old people to try to ease the situation we have in our airlines. Lindsey Graham introduces legislation to raise mandatory pilot retirement age to 67. From Ian Kreetzberg over at Cnbc. As the country's pilot shortage fuels flight cuts, Lindsey Graham is introducing legislation that would raise the mandatory retirement age for commercial airline pilots from 60 to 67 from 65. The Let Experienced Pilots Fly Act would also require pilots over the age of 65 to maintain a first-class medical certification that needs to be renewed every 6 months. Sugar, we got to get more people into the queue to be pilots, but we also have to adjust our age in a reasonable, rational way to keep people in our cockpit. And trust me, folks, I know all about a cockpit. Graham of South Carolina said at a news conference on Monday, other countries allow people to fly to 67 and beyond, and I'm confident that this is a bipartisan issue. The proposed legislation would not change any other pilot qualifications and require airlines to continue using training and qualification programs approved by the FAA. The FAA didn't immediately comment on the bill. In 2007, the mandatory retirement age for airline pilots was raised to 65 from 60. The pilot shortage comes after airlines offered early retirement packages during the Pox pandemic, as travel demand vanished and training and licensing slowed. Airlines had already been staring down the wave of retirements before the pandemic. I am telling you right now, if the opportunity comes to be able to use corrective lenses to fly a plane, I will be attending flight school the next day, if that's the way that they do this. That has been my dream, to be a pilot. Well, I wanted to be a fighter pilot, but I'm too old for that. That is what I wanted to do right up until the point that I was in 4th grade. I'd had classes in 2nd grade, but from the point that I was in 4th grade. And they informed me that you had to have perfect 20/20 vision to be a pilot. I've wanted to be a pilot. So if they either allow these, or LASIK, by the way, which I've considered, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you guys can see, but I mean, these are pretty thick glasses, and they're pretty expensive every time through. I will be in flight school the next day. That might affect my contemporary schedule. But that would definitely be something off the bucket list. Now, major U.S. airlines are scrambling for ways to attract pilots and get them to train faster. Airlines also have offered scholarships and, in the U.S.'s case, open a flight training academy to help teach more pilots to ease the financial burden on students. Earlier in the year, Delta Airlines stopped requiring 4-year college degrees for its pilots, joining other airlines, and in April, regional carrier Republic Airways petitioned the U.S. government to allow pilots to fly for its airline with 750 flight hours, half of the 1,500-hour requirement if they went through its training program. There are exemptions to the 1,500-hour rule, such as for military pilots. Yeah, literally right now, this is the only thing that's holding me back. These things right here. Although I'd probably have to go get a haircut too. As far as this goes, I don't think the government should be involved. And this does appear to be a problem that the government created, that the government solved. There shouldn't be any requirement. If the pilot wants to fly first and foremost and can pass the medical certification, which I know will get more and more difficult as they get older, they should be able to go until they want to stop. It should be the pilot's choice, and in certain cases the airline's choice as well, but it should be the pilot's choice as to when he wants to stop working, take his pension, and ride off into the sunset. Not the government's. I do maintain, because of interstate commerce, the government should keep stringent and strict requirements for the pilots. And yes, that does unfortunately include these. They should maintain that. They absolutely should. But as long as a person can keep passing, age is just a number. I mean, that's what they keep trying to tell me about the current sitting resident in the White House. Right? All right, from the Daily Wire, some good news for you. GOP rep sets up GoFundMe for man who stopped mass shooting, tens of thousands of dollars already raised. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. A Republican rep from Seymour has created a GoFundMe for 22-year-old Alicia Dickin, the young man who stopped the mass shooting at a mall earlier this month. Dickin was at the mall with his girlfriend in Greenwood when a shooter opened fire on unsuspecting shoppers. The armed civilian reacted with 15 seconds of the attacker's first shot, using his 9mm Glock handgun to fire off at least 10 rounds to kill the shooter. On July 17th, the shooter opened fire with a rifle in the food court at Greenwood Mall in Greenwood, Indiana. Jim Lucas posted in a GoFundMe account. Tragically, 3 innocent people were killed, but countless other lives were saved because of the heroism of Eli Dickin's incredibly bravery by acting without hesitation to engage the shooter. Eli neutralized the threat, ending the deadly force situation. Dickin has retained legal counsel, Lucas noted. I asked for your contributions to help with Eli's legal and financial challenges that lay ahead of him, the Republican said. Every penny of your donation goes to Eli to be used for his legal defense, counseling, potential time off work, or whatever financial challenges he may be faced with. The account has been confirmed by the Republic, has already raised more than $62,000 for Dickin. Lucas has donated $500 himself. Now, my first complaint would be, don't use GoFundMe. They suck. Don't use them. They're terrible. But I know that they're going to be challenges for this kid going forward. I don't think he's going to need legal counsel, but it's good for him to retain it in case somebody wants to come back out and file a lawsuit or something. The family of the perpetrator wants to come back out and press a charge for that, or the people who organized it, or the FBI wants to go sue him, or he becomes a target for the FBI because he stopped their plan. Not only that, there is going to be counseling that's needed because to take a life is not an easy thing. I don't care how cool, calm, and collected you are under fire. To take a life is not an easy thing. Rittenhouse has to go through it, and now Dickin is going to have to go through it as well. That is going to be something that needs to be taken care of throughout the rest of his life. So I support this good cause. Again, I would have preferred that he used something other than GoFundMe. Am I surprised GoFundMe hasn't shut it down? Absolutely. But that's what they say off of that. More firearms news. Woman shot after opening fire inside Dallas Love Field Airport. Flight ops resume. From Frank Hines and Scott Gordon. A woman pulled out a gun inside Dallas Love Field Airport late Monday morning and began shooting towards the ceiling, police say. Halting flight operations for several hours on Monday, the woman, who witnesses said was yelling about her marriage, was confronted and shot by police officers. No other injuries have been reported. Dallas Chief of Police Eddie Garcia said the woman, identified by police Monday as 37-year-old Portia Odefua, was dropped off at the airport just before 11 a.m., and that once inside, she went into a restroom and changed clothes. Garcia said the woman exited the restroom wearing a hoodie or something other than what she arrived in, pulled out a gun and started firing several shots. Most of the shots, Garcia said, appeared to be directed towards the ceiling. At this point, we don't exactly know where the individual was aiming. From what we are seeing, she was aiming at the ceiling, Garcia said. There are several rounds that were found. According to the airport, officers working inside confronted Odefua at around 11:23 a.m. and shot her in the lower extremities. The woman was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital in an unknown condition. No further information about her or the motivation behind the shooting or who dropped her off at the airport has been confirmed by police. Witnesses say the shooter said her husband was cheating. There's an investigation ongoing. Garcia said he expects the elements to change as more is learned about what happened. Dallas police said they do not plan to release any other statement until Tuesday afternoon. Dallas FBI and ATF are assisting Dallas police in the investigation. The FAA told NBC5 the incident is a police matter. Let's see. Kind of sounds to me like she got depressed when she found out that her husband was screwing around with somebody half her age and decided that she was going to go try to commit suicide by cop. It does appear that she has survived, unknown condition at least. Let's listen.
Me, what happened?
Well, basically, a woman walked into the airport, said she had an announcement to make. She basically said her announcement, talked about her husband was cheating or something, and she basically said she was about to blow the sucker up. And after she said that, she pulled out a gun. She fired the first shot in the air, and basically everybody scattered. After that, we were running, and we heard maybe 10 to 12 more shots after that, and we was just all over the floor trying to get out of there.
What was going through your mind in that moment?
Just try to get home to my kids, see if my wife was okay, just to get out of there.
Y'all were checking in?
Yeah, we was checking in.
Where were you headed to?
So, that is what we have with that. And yeah, I think that she was just on there depressed about what she found out with her husband, and especially if she was just in and shooting and aiming at the ceiling, but not really going at anybody else. I'm guessing that this is suicide by cop. This was a situation of, I don't want to live anymore. I can't bring myself to do it myself. So I'll get in the news, I'll shame my husband, and still die. Maybe be a martyr for the anti-police movement. I don't know. From CBS, Brooklyn bishop robbed at gunpoint while delivering a sermon on live stream. Is this the clip of the live stream? Or is this them doing reporting?
A Brooklyn bishop was robbed at gunpoint in the middle of his Sunday sermon today.
I need to see if I can find video of this one. Let's put a pin in that one. We're going to see if we can find video of that to go with it. Here's one from the New York Post instead. The New York Post. Racial slur seen on TV, weather forecast. We apologize to our viewers. From Ben Cost. It was cloudy with a chance of outrage. An Iowa weather station stirred up a whirlwind of backlash after an offensive racial slur inexplicably appeared in one of its forecast graphics. Last Thursday, the meteorological misprint was flagged on Friday in a now viral tweet by journalist Matthew Keys. I've blurred it, but I'm pretty sure you can figure out what it said, he wrote regarding the alarming racist image, which appeared in the Des Moines-based Weather Channel's Local on the 8th segment. The accompanying screenshot, which we'll scroll down to in a second, which read, "Hello Des Moines. This is your weather. My N-words." That's amazing. That is amazing. However, the Weather Channel denies that the epithet was its doing. This did not originate with us, and we're in the process of investigating it further, a spokesperson told Keys per a tweet. The Weather Channel confirms this graphic accidentally made it on air in the Des Moines market on Thursday during the Local on the 8th segment. I've blurred it, but I'm pretty sure you can figure out what it said. The Journal postulated in a following tweet that the sordid stunt likely originated at the cable head end, according to a source, though the network is still trying to figure it out. Still funny. Still funny. Many commenters seconded the theory. This came from our cable provider, speculated one armchair local news expert. The Weather Channel has computer units at cable head ends to produce Local on the 8s, and a rogue cable employee must have messed with the files and caused it to say that. Look, I don't care who caused it to say that. It's hilarious, regardless. You know what I think this was? I think somebody got canned, or knew he was about to get canned, or about to quit, one of the three, and did what that charming little girl in Indiana did to me. God, how long ago was that? 14 years ago? 13 years ago? Something like that. And just said, it's my last day and I don't care. Some of you guys know that story, some of you don't. There might be kids watching. I'm not going to tell that story right now. But that's what I'm anticipating this was. It was it's my last day, I don't care. And went for scorched earth. Just like Kinzinger's doing on his Twitter right now. Alright, last one. Speaking of the racialism, federal government launches systemic racism probe into Tesla. From Ben Ziesloft. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission issued a reasonable cause finding to automaker Tesla over systemic racism allegations, according to a recent filing from the company. In February, California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing said that it received hundreds of complaints from African American workers who claimed they'd been segregated to the lowest levels of the workforce at the company and lacked representation in the ranks of executives, senior officials, and managers. Tesla's most recent filing with the SEC indicated that the EEOC has issued a finding that closely parallels allegations from the state of California. Tesla will begin the mandatory pre-filing conciliation process with the EEOC, according to the document by which the company will potentially engage in a mutual resolution with the alleged victims of discrimination. Yet Tesla had formally called the DFEH investigation misguided in an attempt to generate publicity, noting that every one of the more than 50 discrimination accusations faced by Tesla over the past 5 years had been debunked by the DFEH. Let's see. Company statement that therefore strains credibility for the agency to now allege, after a 3-year investigation, that systemic racial discrimination and harassment have somehow existed at Tesla, the company said in a blog post. A narrative spun by the DFEH and a handful of plaintiff firms to generate publicity as not factual proof attacking a company like Tesla that has done so much good for California should not be the overriding aim of a state agency with prosecutorial authority. No, it's the fact that they have people with their fingers in Twitter who are now coming out and making Elon the target. Now, this is something that's been going on for a while. They've been coming out and trying to, for a long, long time, say, oh, well, Elon, he's just a racist, he's apartheid, he's this, he's that, because he doesn't play by the rules. Now, is there discrimination? I have no idea. I've never been inside of a Tesla factory. I've never looked at their observations. I've never looked at their workforce. I would question whether or not there's enough qualified people to sit on a board or not, because I don't know the demographics of the region. There might be, and there actually might be some discrimination going on. I don't know. I don't know enough about the demographics of San Francisco. But I know that this is going to come back out off the top because everyone's mad at Elon for the fact that he wants to go off and buy Twitter. Now he doesn't want to go off and buy Twitter. They're going to try to sue him to go and buy Twitter. And now, again, I'm sure that Twitter has some fingers into both San Francisco governance and California governance, and probably the U.S. governance as well, considering they platformed the U.S. government to now turn a person who reimagined the electric vehicle market into a pariah because he doesn't sit back and do what they want him to do. But that's what we have off of that. And with that, with the exception of the pin that we put in, because I kind of want to see if there's video to go with the story, other than their regular reporting, we have finished. And the last thing that we do on Tuesday is look at the Twitter trending for the day. See what it is that Twitter wants us to be paying attention to. So, from the Explore page over on Twitter, number 1 today is National Auntie Anne's Day. Now, unfortunately, I am low carb and I can't go run out to Auntie Annie's, and there's one in the Toll Plaza that's closest to here, which it's an hour away, so it's really out of the way anyway, but they are partnering with Cash App to give away $30,000 from 9 a.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern for Auntie Anne's Day. Tell us why you need the dough using National Auntie Anne's Day entry tag at Auntie Anne's and include your cash tag for a chance to win some serious dough. Why do so many people want your cash tag all of a sudden? Want to win big? Tag us in a video telling us why you need the dough for a chance to win $10,000. Tag Auntie Anne's, tell us your cash tag, which I don't have, use National Auntie Anne's Day, and hashtag entry. This appears to be putting every hashtag in there to come back out and turn into a political advertisement. She wants groceries or gas, but these are people who are putting their entries in as to what they need. Man, I just want a pretzel. I like their pretzels too, by the way. I really do. But I have no reason to go towards Chicago right now. Or desire, really, honestly. Skipping Tuesday vibes, so our second one will be Hulu. The Washington Post, in tears, says the Disney-backed streaming service Hulu is refusing to run political ads on central themes of Democratic midterm campaigns, including abortion, guns, and the January 6th attack, prompting fury from the party's candidates and leaders. Oh no! A Disney-backed system won't come back and bend over backwards for us. Good. Let's find one place. I might sign up for Hulu over this. Because there's a place where I don't have to get inundated with political ads. And I mean, I don't watch YouTube on my computer that often. I'll either listen to the lo-fi at work, or sometimes I'll listen to various videos if it's later on in the day and no one else is around. And that'll usually come either off my phone or the computer at work, neither of which has an ad blocker on it. When I do watch YouTube at home, the ad blocker's on. Also, if I watch it on the TV in the bedroom, on the Fire Stick, there's no ad blocker in there either. And I'm just inundated with political ads. It's to the point that I don't want to watch YouTube anymore. And I don't have Hulu, but with an announcement like that, I might. Number 3, which is number 4, Wordle 402X. Let's see how the people are doing today. People try to guess today's 5-letter word in 6 tries or fewer. Shanti didn't get it. Shanti also hates English as a language. Dumb 5-letter words. It's Goobs. Didn't get it. Melt Like Butter got it at the very last second. Devin C. didn't get it. Chris Jones didn't get it. Wheezy Waiter, who's blue checked, didn't get it. A lot of no's on this one. Apparently this was a stumper. Look at all those no's. Did it? Well, we know the one guy got it, but that was at the very, very last second. And it seems to me like it's the last 4 letters that everybody's getting. They just can't figure out what the first one is. All right. The 4th one that we'll do, which is the 5th one in trending, is VMAs. The Video Music Awards are here. Does anybody even still watch music videos? I'm not going to lie. I couldn't even tell you the last time I've seen a music video. I take that back because I watched one the other night, but it was for a song from the 90s that I remembered and I heard in a TikTok reel over on Instagram. I'm like, oh crap, I remember this song. And then I went back and listened to it, but of course, to go find it, the quickest way is on YouTube, is to watch the music video with it. Stray Kids, have you heard? You're nominated at the 2022 VMAs. Congratulations. I have no idea who that is. Turning Red, Taylor's version. Video of the Year, Best Long Form Video, Best Cinematography, Best Direction, Best Editing. And yet, I've never heard the song or seen the video. K-pop is going to be in the Video Music Awards. I knew that at one point I would get to a point where I have no idea who any of the people on the pop radio are, and guys, I'm there. Taylor Swift, I think, is the only one that I really know that I've seen so far on the VMAs trend. The Feels has been nominated for Best K-pop. Okay, I know who one person on this list is. All right. And the last one is Venmo it forward. Million says we're on board. One person who follows millions and retweets with their Venmo or M wins $50. Venmo it forward. Drop your guess that product score from today and an extra chance to win. You can win money for your summer vacay. Drop your Venmo and tag your adventure bestie, and you both might win $100, $250, or $500. Jessica Herzog says Venmo it forward. Recently lost my job trying to stay afloat with 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So it looks like we have a big instance of people who are either trying to raise some money for a vacation or trying to get some charity coming in for recent job losses and whatnot. If you're interested in that, the hashtag is Venmo it forward. Go check that out because there's a lot of private charity that can be done and people shouldn't be made to depend on the government. And that's it. We're done. Coming back out of here, finding the outro music for the day, realizing that I can kind of see my ponytail behind me, but really with the big headphones you can't see it at all. Like unless I get frustrated and yank the headphones off because I have to face palm so hard, you don't see the fact that I have long hair anymore. My cousin was talking to me about that because he'd seen some of my morning show videos and didn't realize that I had long hair again. And I told him before I went and hung out with him on Saturday, like, yeah, just so you know, so you don't get sticker shocked, I have long hair again. Because we have so much cancer in our family. That's what I'm growing it for, is for a cancer wig. But yeah, he had no idea. And yet, you guys, even with the headphone, even with seeing me every day, you guys don't see it because it's always behind me because I always tie it up because I don't know how KTZed did it, where she had the over-ear headphones on and still had her hair down. I cannot figure out how people do that. It drives me crazy if I try to do it. As soon as the headphones go on, whether I'm working on show notes and watching Star Trek or playing a video game, that hair is tied up. Let's get out of here for the day. All right, so thanks everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat, kept us on point, kept us honest. It was slow to start off with. I didn't think we were going to get a lot of chatter today, but you guys came in and definitely made the day worth being made. And by the way, if you are just lurking, make sure you get those last minute messages in because we do keep a record of who's out here so I can say thank you for viewing. I know as the show grows, we're not going to be able to say this every week anymore like we used to, but for right now, while we're still a small community, I get to say thank you, and I consider that to be a privilege. So get your names in there so I can look at that and say thank you to your screen name for doing that. Otherwise, we'll be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, more news. We'll watch the Bishop video, if I can find the actual video of the live stream when he did get mugged. Otherwise, come back and join us. Stick around for a raid because we'll be headed out for that in just a moment. And we'll see you here tomorrow with more contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar. And this is Contemporary. Take care.